G'day all, we're doing Group 1 previews for topsport.com.au. We've got the one Group 1 up in Sydney this week, the Spring Champion at Randwick over the 2,000 metres. I've got Mark Rhoden on the line to have a look at it. How you going, Mark?
Very well indeed, Mark. Thanks for having me on.
No worries. Just looking at the market from, I guess, for TopSport, and for all the other bookies too, it's pretty much a race in three. So TopSport have got Love Tap at $3.30, Montefilia at $3.40, Cherry Tortoni at $6.50, and everything else at 17 or longer. How do you see the market? Similar?
I've got the same three at the top. Being a 2,000 metre race for early spring 3-year-olds, it can throw up a result. A few of them, quite a lot of them, are unknown quantities getting out to this trip, of course. There are a few likely types, likely improvers out to 2,000 in this race, but with a rail at 6 metres, the map is going to be critical. So just the way it looks like, the map looks like shaking out, it does look like those three certainly are the ones to beat.
Might just have a quick look at that map.
Sure.
Get your thoughts on where they'll fall in the run.
Yeah. First thing to say is that it's a 6 metre rail on tomorrow, so you don't want to be circling, making a long sweeping run in the rail in that position. The inside 2 lanes from the 600 on are by far the best positions on the track. You can make ground, but you'd rather be cutting the corner than swooping.
Yep.
In this race, 2,000, as I said, there's not a lot of speed. Love Tap led last start in the Gloaming Stakes when I don't think he really wanted to. He half missed the start that day, was given a kick, and he sort of almost dragged Nash to the front. I don't think that was the plan, but it worked out okay. He won the race pretty convincingly. Tomorrow, I think Lions Roar, coming off 2 provincial wins, led all the way at Newcastle last Saturday. I assume they'll adopt similar tactics, but it won't be a hot speed. Bucharest, who Love Tap beat last start, has blinkers on. Possibly leads if nothing else wants to, but probably takes the box seat. Montefilia's drawn 1. Got a long way back in the flight stakes last Saturday, but that was quite a fast run race. She could be, even up here, she could be pretty close from barrier 1, I think. Cherry Tortoni will get a good run, and some of these more staying types of 3-year-old are probably going to have to get back in a pretty moderate pace, which won't help them.
No worries. Yeah, as I said, so TopSport got Love Tap and Montefilia basically equal favourites, 330, 340. What are your thoughts?
I've got them all 3 of them pretty close together, actually. Okay. I have Montefilia slight favourite at around $4, so she's not a bet yet. And I have the other 2 at around $4.50. I think Cherry Tortoni at this stage looks like the value in the race. He brings the Melbourne form up. He's been closing off really well at the end of his races, in some pretty reasonable races too, including the Stud Stakes at Moonee Valley last start. He's a bit of an unknown at 2,000. He's not really bred for it. But as I say, he's been closing off really well at the end of his races, and he's drawn to get a good run, and I don't think this will be a brutal staying test with the moderate pace either. So with his ability to run pretty good closing sections, if it is a moderate pace, and that becomes the deciding factor, I think he can be in the finish. And just with the price differential between him and the other 2, I think he's probably the value bet.
Yeah, good stuff. Montefilia probably most notably on the backup. Is that a concern, or any thoughts on that?
It possibly could be. She's pretty lightly framed, so whether she was knocked around by her effort in winning the flight stakes last week remains to be seen. The mounting out will tell us more there, I assume. The other thing that concerns me a little bit about her, I mean, I quite liked her in the flight stakes. She did get a very fast pace there, which no one really expected, but that's the way it panned out. It was really, truly run. And she was able to make a run with Hungry Heart and eventually chase down Hungry Heart and win.
It's a good result from you, from memory.
I did mention it in the preview as the value in the race. The race didn't pan out as I thought it would, but it was a great effort, and certainly the highest individual rating performance any horse has got in this field. But my concern is this is going to be a totally different race. She's could be 3-4 back defence from gate 1 in a moderate pace.
Yep.
I certainly think she's looking for 2,000. Her trainer says that, and everyone seems to agree that's what she's looking for. But the lack of pace is going to make tomorrow's task a bit different from last week.
Okay.
And that's why I'm just not as bullish as I otherwise would be with her. Gate 1, I mean, it could be a blessing or curse for her because, as I said, the inside's going to be probably the place to be. And you'd much rather be making a run from back in the field from the inside than the outside. But it also could mean she'll meet traffic. So it's just a pricing issue. I think, yeah, as I've said, on exposed performances, she's the best horse in the race. But yes, we have to balance that against tomorrow's race shape.
Absolutely. As I mentioned, from there, we've got Book of S, Miraval and Wertheimer at $17, and they go from there. Have you anything else in the field that you think could be a bit of a knockout chance?
I should probably say something about Love Tap, the other favourite, who I think is a great chance in the race, but also just probably a bit short at the moment. He was been favourite for this race since he won the Gloaming a couple of weeks ago. They didn't know Montefilia was heading this way at that time, I suppose. He's a go-forward horse generally. I think he'll be at his absolute best when he gets a trail and can sit maybe one out, one back, or 1 out, 2 back with cover. That would be his ideal setup, and he's not going to get that tomorrow. He either has to lead or sit outside the lead here. I mean, he's going to be in the firing line all the way on a track where it might be hard to make ground, and he's got Nash on, so he's a super chance, but I just don't think he's going to get his absolute A1 setup. And that was a pretty average field he beat in the Gloaming Stakes. I wouldn't think anything he beat there will beat him tomorrow. But he is just meeting a race of a bit more depth with Montefilia and Cherry Tortoni coming up against him. But he's in the race up to his ears. There's no doubt about that. It's just a question of what price you want to take. As to the rest, as I said at the start, there's a few I could make cases for. One of those was Alvarado, who's come out, who I think is a likely middle distance and staying prospect. They've decided, because of the gate, obviously, to give this a miss. Down the bottom, Favreau's the only one of the beaten brigade in the Gloaming Stakes I'd have any time for in this. His closing figures were great. Closed off really well, clearly looking for 2,000 metres. Just the map. I mean, I think from 10 they just ride conservatively, and if they try and give away a big start and moderate pace and then circle the field on a day when that's unsuitable, it's going to have to be a huge effort to win.
Yeah.
Miraval, who I think is looking for 2,000 metres as well, was ridden just a bizarre ride on her in the Flight Stakes last week. She'd closed off really well at 1,400 in the T-Rose the start before, ridden back in the field. Then come Flight Stakes Day, they ride the brains out of her and stick her up outside the leader in a murderous speed, and she was first beaten, and no surprise. I'm totally forgiving that run. I'm also assuming they won't try that again because it blew up so spectacularly last week. But she's facing the same problem Favreau is. She's drawn 11. So I think she's back or she's wide and she's in strife. But I'd be keeping an eye on her from a VRC Oaks point of view for sure. Okay. Wertheimer up from Melbourne, same boat, get back horse, but he's a likely stayer. I suppose it doesn't have the figures yet, but Choir, the Godolphin 3-year-old, staying type, drawn 2, soft run. Yeah, could easily run into the placings, I think. It looks like it's probably on an upward spiral. Can run into the placings at 20 to 1-ish. So there's a few in the race I'd like to give a chance to if they'd map better. But the way the map shakes it out, maybe Choir of the Roughies is your best place chance.
No worries. Yeah, a couple you mentioned there. So Miraval and Wertheimer, $17 at the moment with TopSport, Choir and Favreau, both 20. So possibly, as you said, a bit of a place chance and never know.
Yeah, I suppose from a place or exotic point of view, Bucharest, who I don't think can beat Love Tap or finish in front of Love Tap, has to be an each way or place chance because he's just going to get such a good run with McDonald and Blinkers. So, yeah, I mean, if it is a race that they're not making, it's going to be hard for them to make ground, and he's up in the box seat. He could easily just keep plugging away and fill a place.
Good stuff. All right, and the rest of tomorrow just look like a reasonable card.
Yeah, it's not the easiest meeting I've ever done, but there's a few different angles in each race, and I'm a little bit different from the market in some of them. So it could be a good betting day. Hopefully get some results. Yeah, I don't actually mind the look of the meeting. I think I've got a good handle on how the track's going to play. The wind's not going to be much of an issue. firm track. It's all, sort of meeting I like, to be honest.
Good stuff. That's what we like to hear. All right. Well, thanks for that. We'll catch up again next week. So good luck tomorrow.
Thank you very much.
Cheers.